Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
Wait a minute. First, before we... Lauer, how many times have you seen this thing for real? Like, give me a real estimate.
11?
11. Okay. Eric?
Yeah.
Probably 5.
Okay. I'm like, I think this will be 5 or 6 for me. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll do it together. All right, Bat Brothers, let's hit play. Oh, it's appropriate for the audiences. Whoa, geez, there's the engine.
Bruce Wayne.
Sorry.
I wouldn't be bothering you here, but your people keep telling me you're on
I feel like we've all forgotten about her. I'm glad we saw her a little bit.
I know. And I've seen a lot of confusion to who that character
really could be doing more for this city.
I mean, I love Bruce Wayne just baller status. It doesn't seem like he's supposed to park there, and then he just parks there and walks away anyway. I love seeing that shot with the Batmobile crashing into the Penguin again.
And the camera turning, and there's the car.
Did this not... Okay, so when the emblems start clicking in, it almost feels like, like Ocean's 11 or something to me for some reason.
This is...
So creepy.
Very soft.
Yes. Yep.
So creepy.
Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes. If we don't stand...
And this was like... I was
doing the
surprised.
work.
I was surprised to hear them go so directly at it's all about the Waynes.
The Bat and the Cat.
Bat and the Cat. Tom King, so proud.
It's got a nice ring.
Jordan Valdez, shout out.
I'm not so sure.
I'm just here to unmask the truth.
That's him with Riddler with a sniper rifle. It's creepy. And then him looking so suspiciously at the cops makes me like on edge too.
Oh my!
And this is how the last trailer opened, but looks like Batman's there too.
He was there,
For
yeah.
the nabbing him, so that's cool.
And then this, the reveal, he knows, right?
Yes.
At least we're led to believe he knows.
The audio sounds different, so
It does.
and that right there, I couldn't tell if it says you or he lied to me.
You're still a Wayne.
I mean, the Wayne emblem's everywhere in this thing too.
Yeah. The grapple
gun.
shoots comes out of his arm.
Yeah, it's not a gun. It's in the suit.
Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them.
That was my favorite line of the whole thing.
Michelle Pfeiffer-esque, right?
He's going to be so good.
Poetic or blind.
So is he.
When it's denied.
That scene is crazy with the lights overhead.
Justice. The answer's justice.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't exactly a brain stummer, that one.
Let's get this.
It is for me. I'm not good at riddles.
This vengeance, let's get in some trouble. Like, is that a
Oh my God, this
moniker?
Oh,
Yep,
the
I
music.
think-
The fighting.
Taken out with a gun like at the club.
Yes.
Okay. Oh boy, that is something else.
Yes. So, wow. The action scenes in this one are so much better, and it's so brutal.
It's bigger.
Yes.
It's oh my gosh. It's really something else. Well, geez, we should probably hang on. Let's open the podcast.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham.
I'm Batman.
Hello, Bat family, and welcome to this episode number 192 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor and a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all of the shows over at batmanpodcastnetwork.com and follow us on Twitter at BatPodNetwork. I'm Garret Grev. Thank you for listening. We've had a lot of activity on the feed lately. We've got social hours. We just did, I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. We're recording this on December 29th. Just last week, we recorded a Christmas-themed holiday episode where we did a live viewing and commentary. Well, we were live. You listen to it later. That's the way these things work. Of the Batman, the animated series classic episode, Christmas with the Joker. We're not here to talk about a, 30, almost 30 odd year old episode of a great animated series. We are here to talk about the newest trailer for the forthcoming blockbuster, Matt Reeves, The Batman. And you guys know this. It's dark. It's spooky down in the Batcave. I don't do these things by myself when I'm here. It's got a tight episode, but I still needed two of my best dudes to talk through it with me. We're going to welcome to the show. You know him. He's been on our podcast before. You know him from his feats of amazing strength and eating prowess and the ability to swim long distances. Yes, that's right. Straight out of Gotham's own Mr. Eric Holzmann. Eric, welcome to the show.
Eric, thank you. I can't remember the last time I was on a BOF podcast. So this is actually kind of cool. It's more because of me. Just put that out there. But yes. But yeah, man, it's really cool to be back, especially to discuss this specific trailer and a little bit of this movie that we're all looking forward to, even though some people might not think I am, but we'll get to that later. So
one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on this one.
So we'll talk about that later. But yeah, thanks, man. Merry Christmas. I wished you Merry Christmas, but I haven't really spoken or seen you, and I'm looking at you now. So Merry Christmas.
It's always a busy time of year. And I can't believe we're really counting down. It feels like, when this whole thing, with the pandemic and the timing of the movie release, for a while, it felt like 2022 was never going to get here for us to see this thing. And now there's TV spots popping and there's trailers popping. And man, we are just not even a few short days, like 3 short days at the time of this recording away from 2022.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you for joining, Eric. It's not just me and Eric down here. You know this gentleman. He's the librarian of the Batman Book Club. He's also a Mountain Dew enthusiast. You might know this. This guy eats more cereal than anybody else I know in their 30s. He is... both these guys have Aquaman sort of references. He is better known as Mr. Mira. It is our own Ryan Lauer. Ryan, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Garrett, for that wonderful introduction. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm also happy to be talking to the complaint department himself, Final E33. I haven't gotten to speak to him in a while. We haven't called. We haven't Zoomed. It's been a wild back half of 2021, but no need to fear. I am definitely the substitute Peter Vera, and I'm going to get an apology out of Eric during this time that we talk.
He's the prosecution. Well, you might not all know this, and this is obviously we're all Batman fans. I think, when this movie came out or when it was announced, and there's been an ongoing discourse about, the direction that DC's heading with Batman on film, not the website, but in the lowercase, not Batman. That's always capitalized. The rest of it in no dashes. Batman on film, going with a new director after, Ben Affleck infamously left the project. Yes, left for good, separate discussion, but this is what we got here. We're in the Reeves-verse now. And, a different approach to Batman, a little bit more, certainly street level, a bit more noir. Reeves has been on record saying many times, sort of gritty street level Batman movie, take him down to the core elements, get some of the fantastical stuff out of there. And there were some people that questioned, do we need another solo Batman movie? And do we need it to be something that was, grounded in reality? Eric, we had sort of mentioned this before, wrote an article for our pals website over at Let's Go. Eric did some research about are people really hyped for this? And this was Eric, months back, a year back or so.
Yeah, it was shortly after Reeves had gotten named as director. And
okay, so a little bit longer back.
Yeah, a little bit longer. But that's when I was, because we were at that weird time with the character and where they were going, and we weren't really sure. So I was kind of looking into if people really cared or really wanted another one or thought we needed another one. And there was an article done, I think it was on Vice, where the author brought up the same topic, where do we really need to do another Batman movie? Do we need one? And that's really what kind of spurred me on to look into it myself.
And I think, time is a tricky little devil there. You never know what's going to happen. And we have gotten more, the initial teaser, right, that was filmed with about 25% of the movie completed. We've had a new trailer, obviously, since then. That was some time ago. TV spots have popped up. We've started to see some merchandising. And then just, 2 days ago on the 27th, I believe, December 27th, yes, this new trailer that we're discussing tonight, The Batman, The Bat and the Cat was dropped. And I tell you what, if it didn't seem like people were hyped a while back, it feels to me like this thing is it's a pot that's starting to boil. Are you guys, Eric, does it feel the same way to you? And looking back on, from where we were to where we've come, how much of a swell have you felt in kind of looking into, I don't know, Joe general audience's perspective?
Well, I used my main source of research were sites like Reddit and Quora and places like that, where you can ask questions and then get the feedback from people. And I was surprised when I first did it, how many people actually answered in the either, no, I don't want at all, or I don't care. Like, it's whatever, it's Batman. But the good thing about those sites is the questions stay open. So it's easy to go back for me and just say, okay, now.
Oh, interesting.
Since we've had the time, has your opinion changed? And I will say there has been a shift. There are people who are still like, yeah, no, I really don't care. But there has been more of a shift than like, oh, well, yeah, I saw the first trailer. And then the last one from Fandom that came out. And then I haven't been back in the past few days to see how this one is done. But just from the second Fandom trailer, there has been a marked shift towards more people wanting to see it now, which kind of makes sense to me.
Well, we'll get your thoughts on it, and then when we post this, and I always kind of send it out into the Twitterverse for links. Maybe after you get a chance to go back and do some of your gumshoe detective work, you can give some updates on what that looks like. But I bet I'm not that much of a betting man, but I would be willing to wager a large sum of money on this. Lauer, you're a nerd, correct?
This is correct.
Okay, and a lot of your pals are nerds.
This is also correct.
Okay. In your sphere of nerddom, have people felt like they were going to want to get a new Batman movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has that wantingness grown over time up until this point, of which we have all the new material to enjoy and watch and react to together?
Not as much as what this last trailer's done.
Really? So this one, This was the difference maker.
In my circle, yes, which I'm not going to lie, it's not like it's huge, but
it's still, we're still in the pandemic. How often are we actually seeing other humans? It's like, your text message. Here you go.
But I mean, this last trailer moved the needle quite a bit for my circle.
Okay, well, good.
So there you go.
What we can do is, before we really start breaking this thing down, we kind of want to make this a quick hitter. We'll get you in and out of this podcast in less than 30 minutes. What I'd love, listeners, for you all to do, why don't you hit pause on the old podcast, go and watch this bad boy, and then come back to us, and then we'll all be fresh. You can think and do what I used to do when I was a listener to this podcast and not the host. And I would just like actively talk to my car stereo or my headphones like I was a part of the show. It'll be fun for you. So we'll pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. And now welcome back. Awesome. Cool. So Lauer, in your, just big old nerdy bat brain, give me your like 15-second review of this trailer that we got. What did you walk away thinking and feeling about this bad boy?
I'm going to go 15 seconds. Okay.
All right. Let's do it.
Now, I was really surprised at how much they included in here, but not in a bad way. I think we have a lot more headed our way. They made sure to angle it towards this is Bruce Wayne. They showed a lot, but yet also didn't give us anything that we didn't already expect. It was awesome. It was amazing. Catwoman looked great. I love Batman. 15
seconds. All right. Aquaman Holzmann. back your way. I'm going to give you the same. Lauer, can you do the same thing? All right, we got you on the timer.
I use my phone just like the iPhone, just like the Riddler used in
Perfect.
the trailer.
Eric, 15 seconds, high level overview. What were your thoughts? And go.
Yeah, so they gave us a little bit more. They gave us a little bit more plot, what we're going to get from the actual story, which I thought was good. Like Lauer said, I think the focus was kind of on Bruce Wayne this time, a little less on Batman. The action scenes were incredible. I can't wait to see it. It's coming out in very short. Oh, crap.
It's coming out very soon. You don't have to
Short. Oh crap.
Yeah. Eric went for, if you weren't timing out there, Eric went 0.3 of a second over. That's okay. I think he was going to tell you it's coming out very soon, which it is.
Yes.
I think he was about to give a spoiler. So
yeah,
I'm glad we cut him off.
I'm glad we cut him off.
Damn it.
BOF policies. We are not
Me and
in
my
that
sources.
Game.
Damn.
Damn you.
Lauer, you want to tee me up? It's only fair.
Oh, you betcha there.
Oh, heck. Let's do it now. You bet. Let's go. I was amazed how big and beautiful this trailer was, just with that much more material to choose from and decide what kind of themes in the trailer you wanted to pull in, because you have the whole movie filmed, and the score blew me away. The action sequences look awesome. My ticket's already sold.
You got it. We did
Great.
good. We did good.
It's great. Good.
Well, that
So
concludes the podcast. So
thank you for listening. I told you it'd be under 30 minutes, and away we go. I mentioned quite regularly, editor-in-chief Bill Jet Ramey likes a tight podcast episode. This might be a little bit too tight. I wanted to ask you guys something. One thing that I walked away with this with the trailer, and I knew I wanted to talk about on the podcast, is although we get big sort of action scenes, whether that's fighting or explosions, we can talk about some of that. What this trailer really, to me, spent some time simmering on was relationships. I was amazed by how relationship focused this trailer was for a big action-filled blockbuster. And obviously, I think the main one people will walk away from, we mentioned the Tom King kind of bat and cat thing when we were talking about this before we hit record. There's a lot of Batman, a lot of Catwoman, a lot of the two together. Eric, what was your takeaway based on what we've seen in how that relationship is being presented to us? Do we have enough from this trailer to get a good flavor for what to expect in the movie, or is it just hints in your opinion?
I think it's mostly just hints from what we have right now. I mean, if you know anything of the history, and a lot of people who are going to see this movie will know their history, the history of the two characters together and their relationship. You see some of that here. Obviously, this is very early in their relationship, but it definitely does seem like they're into each other already, just from the short little bit that we got. So we don't know obviously the whole part they're telling in this movie, but like I said, there's hints there of where it could be going, and I think that's what you want in a trailer. You want those kinds of things just to bring you in and be like, okay, now I need to see the movie. So
absolutely. Lauer, I mean, I think absolutely in the fact that it definitely it kind of sticks the fish line in the water and says, come on, come nibble on this, and it's going to reel you in. Lauer, did you have any major takeaways about what you think this movie is going to deliver for us in the type of relationship they have? Because we got enough to start to form opinions. You never know. You can't judge a book by a cover. You can't even judge it by the first chapter if you skim through the bad boy. But do you get a feel for kind of what they're serving up for us here?
I think so, especially coming off the Empire article where they talked to Zoe Kravitz about Catwoman, and she elaborated just a little bit of their relationship and how you don't know if they're basically going to be friend or foe, which that's been the Batman Catwoman relationship for so long. And this trailer, I think, leads to believe we get that fighting, in which we got just a tease of it at the first Fandom trailer, but it's really shown. I think that's their first interaction in which they're going to then play out the movie, in that we are kind of allies, but there's going to be something that's going to prevent them from being complete allies,
sure,
which is par for the course. And that'll be interesting to see play throughout the whole movie.
That old tale. Tale as old as time between those two.
Tail.
Yeah, that old yarn.
A yarn?
The kitten with a little ball.
Oh, man.
Lauer, you beautiful man, you. What a great segue. There's been some chitter chat about Catwoman's appearance in this movie. I'm talking about costume, just even from a depiction, how the visual appearance of the costume looks in this trailer. Some fanboys, I don't know if you guys know this, get upset when things aren't exactly like the comic books they read.
Oh.
Eric, what do you think? What do you think we're getting here? Does this feel comic book accurate? And if it does, cool. Maybe point out to why you feel like that could be the case, or why there's elements that are strong. And if it doesn't, tell me if you care or not about that. What do you think of the way she looks here?
I never care about that stuff.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
When it comes to these,
why I started with you, quite honestly.
Yeah, when it comes to these kinds of, it always has to work within the framework of the film and the story you're telling. So for me, knowing that this is an early version of not only Catwoman, it's an early version of Batman, I think you're going to have the less flashy, nice, fully formed suits we're used to, and you're going to get these earlier, more rustic, less fantastical, if that's a word I can use,
sure,
suits that they're wearing. So it doesn't matter to me. None of that matters to me. At least with these characters, we've seen these characters many times before. We've seen Catwoman twice now on screen, on the big screen. This is the third time she'll be appearing. We've seen Batman numerous times. So for me personally, no, I think it fits perfectly in the world Reeves is building. So it's fine for me.
Lauer, did you walk away with any different thoughts on this, or feel free to go in the direction of, I think it's fair to say that, hey, this looks just fine for what we're getting here, but maybe I'd want it to change in the sequel. I think if that's almost a cheat that I would allow here, but don't let me put the words in your mouth. You spit those words right back in my direction.
Okay. No. So I think I've said it on here before. I've said it on the social hours with Bill, and I've said it otherwhere too, that it didn't bother me at all what the suits of anything were going to be, because to me, it really feels like we have, it gives characters some place to go. I think that's what I've continued to say, is it gives them some place to go. I'm not fully convinced that this is what we've seen so far with Catwoman, that's the only suit that we'll see her in the movie. I'm not fully
and I
convinced.
think you said something similar to that about Riddler too. When we
I'm not fully convinced. Why? I don't know. I just feel like, would a director want to show his full hand and be like, it seems like you guys don't like this suit of the characters. Well, let me go ahead and show you the big third act reveal where they're in more comic booky look or something like that, And I mean, specifically, and I don't get mad if people don't prefer looks of things and whatnot, because it's just like, oh, okay, that's fine. It's the way that you are saying that you don't like it becomes the hyperbole, and it gets to be eye rolling and ridiculous, because
worst
you're going
costume
going to really long lengths to exaggerate so that you can be dramatic and try to get your point across. And when in the end, it's like, man, I mean, of the characters, Catwoman has almost been the most fluent changing in her whole history. I mean, in the 90s, she wore a purple spandex suit that had a face mask and whiskers and a long ass tail. Is that what you want in this movie? Do you want her to go golden age, where it seems like she's wearing a long dress that's high slit and it has a cat mask on? I mean, what a cape. What are you looking for? And so, I mean, the head part itself looks almost like a stocking cap, kind of cut out, but it's just like, we just haven't seen the movie yet. Let's watch the movie, man. Let's see how things work. And then we can go from there. And there's a reason that studios don't listen to nerds, because it's just it gets ridiculous and it's laughable. And I'm excited for it. It's not, I think we've talked about before too. Sure, looking at the Riddler suit, looking at Catwoman's suit. No, out of all media that they've ever been in, those aren't my favorite, but who cares?
exactly.
I mean,
I'm here
in
for the
end,
story.
Who cares? Yeah.
Right.
We'll see how it works for the story.
Well,
So-
and to that point too, you know, we mentioned the Riddler. You can go back a couple podcasts where we talk about his appearance a little bit. So you don't need to necessarily get into the visual representation of the Riddler. But Lauer, since you are saying all sorts of stuff that's really jiving with me, Eric, no offense, not that you didn't.
Yeah, shut up, Eric.
I'm sorry.
I'm just the guest. So go ahead.
Lauer's like Captain Horror, right? Like I always joke about Lauer likes all the scary, nasty stuff that I don't like. I'm dying to know your thoughts on the Riddler that we get in this trailer. We've seen some of this in previous, you know, we've heard about like the Seven vibe or what's the nasty
Zodiac.
one where the dude, yeah, but that's a little bit the one that's a little bit more like torture porny. That series I don't like. Stop, bingo.
That's
like oh god, just really not my.
I know
thing.
it's in Garrett's nightmares. Okay,
it's seriously like who wants to watch this? How unpleasant! Wasn't there something nice on we could change it to? But because I know that you're a sick weirdo and you love that stuff,
sure. Okay,
excuse me. What do you think about this Riddler? Because we got a whole bunch more Riddler in this trailer.
I think it's creepy shit, and I really like that. In essence, he is toying with Batman, throwing riddles, and he's got some green and there's question marks. That screams the Riddler to me. And Garrett, last time I was on BOF podcast with you, we were talking about the Riddler, and we even said about how when he debuted, he didn't have the sports coat with question marks on it and the hat and stuff. And it's like, so see, we're trying to say like, no, this is Riddler. He's got to have that. And it's like, well, he didn't even have that when he debuted. So I love what we're seeing with the Riddler. And I think what blew my mind in this trailer was the fact that it looked like he's got some minions or followers or something that are also dressing up like him.
Some weird culty thing.
Yeah. So that works. That works too. Those are some nice breadcrumbs that Matt Reeves is laying for us to follow into the woods. You know? I dig it. I'm digging what they've got.
Me too.
Shown us.
I'm glad. You know what? I'm into it. I'm going to be a little bit interested to see how much they kind of have him be almost like a cultural icon that people want to follow. Like, I don't know, that's I'm like, Joker does this. Like we just had a movie where Joker does this and everyone's in the mask and everything else. So I'm like, are we going back to that? Well, that doesn't really feel like a Riddler thing to me, but everything else, like the creepiness of the riddles, which seems to be, you know, like really set up to trap Bruce Wayne or Batman or both, because there's a big reveal in this trailer that the Riddler seems to know the identity of Batman, which Eric, you know, when I mentioned the big thing for me about this trailer was all about relationships, there feels to be a relationship somehow, whether it's like a 1 or 2 degree of separation type thing between this Riddler and this Bruce Wayne / Batman. At least that's the vibe I got. Did it play like that for you?
When that happened, yes. It's kind of been, even from the first trailer where he says, you know, you're a part of this. And he's like, well, how? And with that line comes in this one as well. But in the very first one we got, he says the same thing. You kind of already had that idea. All right, he knows him somehow. There's some kind of relationship built there. I don't know if he knows just the family, because they kind of hint on that in this too.
Yeah.
The role of the Wayne family. So I don't know if he knows that. Alfred kind of says some comments in this trailer that kind of make you think, okay, he knew something as well about maybe the Riddler. So I don't know, but I definitely do feel that the Riddler does know Bruce Wayne somehow, and it's probably through the family. That's just how my read of the situation. Just through the family, he did some research, or he had a connection. Which, I mean, you know, in Batman Forever, the last time we saw the Riddler, he worked right. Right? So
yeah,
so you know that
was right there and knew the secret identity, and then forgot it because he was just, you know, he got fried too much and went crazy.
Yes. So
you know that you mentioned we got some of this in a previous trailer. It felt more personal in this one, in my opinion, because it was like, I've been trying to reach you, not just Batman clues. If you think you're being just or driving for justice, but you're not going after these folks, then you're not doing your job right, which is kind of what I had expected, quite honestly, early on. Riddler looking at Joker, Riddler looking at the Batman as a fraud for not really going after justice because there's these things you don't even know and I'm going to expose them. This felt more like I'm going to expose you and your family. I am reaching out to the person that you are, not the thing you're trying to be, but you as a man. And that was like, oh man, this thing is like personal. Like either there's a grudge or a vendetta or, just a really much more, I keep saying personal, but a much more personal, lesson that he's going to try and teach, not just about the aristocracy of Gotham, but about Bruce Wayne and the Waynes particularly. I was not expecting that. I thought they gave us a ton more Wayne stuff than I was expecting for this trailer.
Yeah, I've heard people mention the Court of Owls after seeing this, having that kind of an angle to this from this trailer as well, which maybe they're setting up for the future. I know it's something that we haven't seen on the big screen, so it'd probably be cool to explore that angle. But I do think I agree with you. He definitely does know him somehow in a more personal manner, and I that to me is the psychological angle to this. That's where the Seven stuff comes in. I really want to see that explored, which we haven't seen in a Batman film yet. So that's something I really want to see now that seed has been planted, and we go from there in this movie.
Laura, I said we got a lot of Wayne stuff in this trailer. It looked like, Wayne emblems were everywhere, whether it was like a cufflink, I think, but like there's an elevator that seems to have like a Wayne emblem on top of it, for like a very ornate old school type elevator. At least I think it was an elevator that we saw. But the trailer kind of opens with Bruce talking to a character. I believe the character is it Bella Real or Real? I don't know how the name's pronounced. But it's the politician or someone running
mayoral candidate.
Yeah, mayoral candidate, right? And she's speaking specifically about the role of the Waynes in Gotham in a perceived lack of effort on old Brucey's part. So it's not only we've got like this personal Wayne family relationship, but the relationship between the Waynes and Gotham. And I think is it Catwoman that says like the riddles are all about the Waynes and pointing to the Wayne family. Do you think we've got enough to say at least we've got a gut feel for what that relationship between the Waynes and Gotham is, whether it's the surface thing or if there's something more perhaps insidious beneath, as some have speculated? What are your thoughts on that?
I think what she gave us at the beginning of the trailer was perfect for setting the table of where the Wayne family is with Gotham and how Bruce is not living up to those expectations, because how she even said of how the Wayne family has not verbatim, but something along the lines of has a history of philanthropy, and
right.
Bruce isn't. Right. It doesn't seem like he's doing that.
He's just Scrooge McDucking it. All he's doing is just diving into his money bank and splashing around.
That was a great way to set up this trailer, because it does provide a good story setup of, we know anybody watching that, like really in tune like us nerds or somebody not, they know, well, Bruce Wayne's Batman, like he actually is. So I think that's a good setup, but it's also intercutting with this freaking insane Batmobile scene with our boy Ozzy. Shout out Peter Vera. Or should we say Frito? Anyways, which I think looks awesome. I don't think that we have now seen the entire Batmobile scene. I just don't think that we have. No. But I think that's just a great setup to where she's representative of Gotham right there, and saying so the people of Gotham are not thinking Bruce is being like the Waynes. And then and then it goes into the Riddler of seeking out, as Alfred even says, this is addressed to the Batman. Why is it sent to you? And then it's all about, the cesspool of Gotham, as Riddler says and stuff. And then it just does kind of become that root is Wayne. So I think Reeves as we could have assumed going into this, the previous trailers and then reading the Empire article, in other interviews and stuff, that the core of this is about the Waynes.
Mm-hmm.
Something with the Waynes, the history, the legacy, the family of the Waynes.
Maybe something a little bit off the more, trodden path of the Waynes, just being the big helpers and trying to save Gotham.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite approach. I think we've talked about whether it was on your show or my show or what my show.
All the shows. That's not my favorite thing for the Waynes by any means, but it could be really interesting. And because this seems to sort of be, flipping expectations a little bit and setting up something and then hinting that it might be something else, I wouldn't be surprised. Mm-hmm.
Away from the relationships, and before we kind of start to wrap up here, there's a lot of jaw-dropping moments in this trailer. We already mentioned the car chase with the Penguin that we've seen before. There's a number of different explosions. There's Batman just beating the holy heck out of people, this time with like a gun as a club in some like foggy smoke. There's the Batmobile flame just revving up and taking off. It scared the heck out of me the first time I watched it. I had the audio turned up too high.
New nightmare coming for you.
Eric, what do you think? Because I think when people think now about big blockbuster comic book movies, we think of the shiny, very polished MCU a lot. That's not what we're getting here, but it doesn't seem to be like low scale just because it's not all shiny computer graphics. At least that's the way I thought about it. I'd love to, because you're kind of one of the more MCU guys that we pal around with. I'd love to know your thoughts, nerd. First of all, what was your thought? And do you think audiences are ready for this type of action and adventure comic book movie based on what they've gotten used to over the last couple of years?
I think it's a welcome change. I think that people are looking, especially with the character. When you have Batman, you can do these things and you can go darker and be grittier and have that kind of more grounded, because Batman doesn't have powers, right? He's just a normal guy. So you can do that with Batman where you couldn't get away with that with some of the characters in the MCU. I think that obviously for us and the people who love Batman, we want this kind of thing. Like I said, it's a very welcome change for what we get from the MCU. I think, and like I said, I need to do a little bit, go back to my questions now and see how people react to this trailer to see how they're feeling towards it now. But all of that stuff works for me. I think it will work for a certain segment of people who do want a different take, who are maybe getting tired of like you said, the polished brand the MCU has. Not taking anything away from it. Spider-Man No Way Home was great. That's the latest one we had. Obviously, an excellent film. But it is going to be interesting now for me to see how people react. Those fans, I want to see how those fans react to this kind of a trailer. And that's where I think going back and, like I said, looking, doing the research again, that's where I think we're going to see, okay, this movie is starting to resonate now and people are going to want to go see it. So
sometimes you've been eating a lot of vanilla ice cream. You enjoy that. But then there's a scoop of chocolate just staring at you and you want to gobble that up, even though it's not your normal flavor.
Yeah. Rocky Road, throw some peanuts and marshmallows in it.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry. Lauer, talking about sort of jaw-dropping moments, there's a lot of that action in the trailer, but there was also the presentation of Gotham that I found myself sort of gawking at. And much like the action, not nearly as polished as some of like the cityscapes we've been used to in recent motion pictures. This has a bit of a different feel to it. Did you have any thoughts on the way we're seeing Gotham in this movie presented?
I think we're seeing it a very close and intimate view of Gotham, which I think is a cool change. Because as Eric just kind of commented, and you commented too, of a blockbuster, we think of MCU, and that's nothing negative at all coming out of my mouth. Obviously, what they do is very successful. They're doing it really, really well. If you want an MCU film, well, then go see an MCU film. This is a good we like, if you're in a different mood, you want a different taste. Like you said, this Batman movie is almost an opposite view of that. It's dark. It's a little grimy. It's up close and personal. And I thought with some of the shots they had in that, it seems like we are attached to that Batmobile in some of those shots.
Or we're attached to Bruce. We have almost like this third person over the shoulder, like looking up at the city from just behind his vantage point.
Yes. So all of that is like, we're not in I'm not saying it won't ever be there. And I mean, some shots even had it. We're not doing that massive from, way a mile high view of Gotham. It seems like we are down in it, which also was unexpected in the sense of, we saw an explosion in a previous trailer, but we saw here, like, it seems a massive flood's coming. We see across from a Gotham Bay as there's explosions. And it's like, we're in it with that. And as we see, and I think it might have been my favorite in the trailer full of holy shit shots. Like that beginning one of, we're attached to the back of that Batmobile as it hits the brakes and slides, and then we just see that car coming right into view and flipping. It was like, damn, that is
point
cool
of view.
As hell.
Yeah, a lot of point of view going on.
And it just feels like we're getting that kind of attachment to Gotham, which I really, really like that.
Well, you don't even need to go to the, MCU, which is always like, well, what's the other guy doing? If you go back to like Man of Steel for another DC movie reference, like that Metropolis just felt like any city that's been in any big blockbuster where the blocks kind of look all the same. There's not a lot of character. It could be any city, anywhere in any major movie blockbuster where building after building after building is going to be destroyed. There's a lot of character in this Gotham, from the neon to the staggering, heights, the different, the way the skyline kind of works, not all uniform, like a bunch of planned, this is our skyscraper area. And this is, it looks kind of like pieced and patched together, and it's all low. Like the point of view on it's very low. You do get those overhead shots, but it just has a different feel. It's a little bit more visceral, and it's nice to see that it feels as if Matt Reeves, without a surprise here, is treating Gotham like another cast in his, or another cast member when it comes to the characters.
Yeah.
Do you guys, Eric?
I was gonna say, I feel like Gotham is always a character.
Should be.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, samesies.
Oh, Midwest brain.
Midwest brain.
Because all the villains come from there, right? So like you have this upswell of, okay, where do they come from? And Gotham is kind of the backdrop to why they are the way they are. Yeah. So like Gotham is always a character. In
breeding
every
ground
kind of,
for crazies.
Right. In every kind of medium, even in this past season of the Titans, Gotham was a character. Like it was part of what the world they built, and it was another character they had to deal with. Every time I have something with Batman, I always look at Gotham as a separate character to the show, to whatever I'm watching.
Absolutely. Well, boys, before we wrap up, do you think we're going to get another full-length trailer between now and March?
You want to take this one?
I said I hope not on. Or I said I thought we would for trailer 3 if the first fandom trailer counts as one, but it was going to be in February. I don't know, man. Like after this one, this is a banger. Cut this one and do it as TV spots for NFL playoffs or God, I don't know. Cause we're 2 months out and I don't know. I don't think so. I'm going to say no, because let's just play this one in front of movies in theaters in January, February. Most people, us nerds, are going to YouTube and Vimeo to watch. Yeah, we're not normal as it is. So we already know that that's here. General audience, football commercials, Olympics, and then this trailer in theaters. So I'm going to say no. There we go.
All right, Laura.
No.
Eric.
Sorry, that took so long. I went.
You got there. You got there. It's all right.
I don't think we're going to get a full length trailer. I think we'll get some spots, like we've gotten, like seems to be the way they do it now in this genre. They were after the last trailer comes out, then they drop little spots leading up to the film, or we might get spots interspersed with ads for certain products.
Sure,
maybe things like that where you get a little intro. I think we might get those, but I don't see another trailer. At least I hope not. I really don't think we need one. I don't want to get to the point where they are showing so much of the film. You get there like, all right, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Save some for the viewing.
Yeah. So I hope not. But again, it probably depends on their read, on what they're getting back from these trailers that are out there. If they feel like they need another one, then we might get one. So
my only question, I sort of think not. My only sort of question is if they do something, whether it's all new or just a different cut up of things we've seen before, Super Bowl spot. I think given the timing of release, this would be the one time that it could make a lot of sense. Maybe we see something at the Super Bowl. All right. Well, only time will tell, and there's not a whole lot of time left. So stay here. The episodes of the Batman on Film podcast between now and the release will largely be focused on the Batman, unless there's super crazy news in some other space that we have to cover. We'll do that, and then we'll get you over to the Batman. You may very well hear these two lovely gentlemen back on the show to help me talk about all this. Guys, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you being here. Eric, why don't you hit me with some plugs, and then we can do the same thing for Mr. Lauer, and then I'll talk a little bit, and then we'll get out of here.
All right. So if you guys want to hit me on social media, you can hit me on Twitter at Finally33, spell Finale33. Hit me up also on the Straight Outta Gotham podcast Twitter feed, which I host with, of course, Batman on Film's Peter Vera. You can that's at Straight _ G, sorry, on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook, the Straight Outta Gotham Facebook group, the Straight Outta Gotham Facebook page. Check out my content on BatmanOnFilm.com, where you can go read my reviews on Titans, because it was just released on Netflix recently. So if you didn't watch it when it was on HBO Max, you have it on Netflix. You can watch it there and then come back and yell at me for my reviews. That's fine. I don't care. I love talking about all this stuff. And then just keep looking out for our podcast, guys. If you're not following Straight Outta Gotham, Pete and I do kind of a similar thing to this, except we're a little bit more broad in what we cover. We cover horror, we cover other things. So check us out over there. We have a good time. And for everyone who has followed us and keep supporting us, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Eric. And Mr. Lauer, why don't you hit me? I'm guessing, a number of listeners know where to find you, but just for anyone that's tuning in new, let them know.
You can check out my comic reviews, interview with Lee Bermejo, interview with Long Halloween, parts 1 and 2 writer Tim Sheridan, all on Batman on Film proper. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lauer_Ryan. Lauer, spelled like lower. You can also follow my podcast that both of these gentlemen have been on a number of times, the Batman Book Club. You can follow it on Twitter at the Batman BC. Latest episode was the Christmas episode about the Batman Adventures holiday special, which inspired the Holiday Nights animated episode with pal Jay Yaws. That was a fun conversation. The next one coming up is with Peter R. Vera himself. He's getting a lot of shout outs here. And if you have any complaints about anything in life, just tweet them at FinalE33.
Seriously.
It was a good episode. I listened to that one. You know what, Lauer, one of these days I'm going to have you on, and then you're going to tease an upcoming episode is actually having me back on. So, just think about that one. And you know why I want to come back on? Because I love talking about this stuff, and I would love to keep the conversation going. So you can follow us at the website over at the Twitterverse handle at the Batman on Film. That is at TheBatmanonFilm. And you can follow me at Garret Wato. That's at GarretWato. If there's anything you'd like to hear about, hit me up on the emails. That's garret.grev@batman-on-film.com. Love to hear from you. If you want to drop a review, often I will read those live. If that's fun for you, it's fun for me. We can have fun together. And I want you to remember this. It's very important. It's a lesson I like to leave you with each and every time. Please listen. Please pay attention. Carry it on into the new year with you. It's not who you are underneath, but it's what you do that defines you. Thank you for listening.
You have been listening to the official podcast of the one and only Batman on Film website. On Twitter, follow BOF at Batman on Film and the Batman Podcast Network at BatPod Network. For Jet and everyone at Batman on Film, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening to the authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.